Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, very much for joining us this afternoon for today's webinar, a live look at the Sterling Trader Pro platform for active traders. My name is Chris Donovan. I'm a sales associate with Lightspeed Financial Services Group. I am joined today by our guest panelist from Sterling, Conrad, and he will be showing us how to navigate through the platform and some really cool features and functions. So hopefully you come away from this webinar today having learned something new. We will take some questions at the end as well, and perhaps throughout the presentation too, should Conrad need a break for a sip of water or something. So before we get started, I do have to read this disclosure, but before I do that, I do want to let everybody know that we are currently running a promo for 10K 2021. So the promotion will get you up to $10,000 cash back through a rebate to your account. Through 50% of your equities and options commissions that you generate within the first 3 months of your account being open. The offer is only for if you maintain a minimum of $25,000 in equity at all times during the promotional period. So for that 90 days after your account is open, you do have to make sure that you keep $25,000 in it at all times in order to be eligible for that rebate in your account. Additionally, if you have not yet had the opportunity to try one of our platforms or take a demo of either the Sterling Trader Pro platform or the Lightspeed Trader platform, you can go to our website, lightspeed.com, and in the top right-hand corner here, it says try a demo. There's a button. Just click on that, and it'll take you to the demo request page. Just provide the requested information, and we will email you a username and password that you can use to log into the platform and try out the platform. If you are interested in signing up for an account, you can also go to our website, lightspeed.com, and click on the Open Account button here in the top right-hand corner. That'll take you to the first page and the first step in the process. If you have been working with either myself or a member of the sales team, please do list us as your sales rep on the account, and we would be more than happy to assist you with any inquiries about your account, any platform questions, and just being your general point of contact. So my colleagues on the sales team would greatly appreciate it, and I also would too. So with that being said, let me just read the disclosures, and I will pass things off to Conrad, and we'll get started. So this presentation is for informational purposes only. Nothing presented today should be construed as investment advice or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any security or contract. Since we don't know everyone's investment objectives or risk tolerance, we are not endorsing any specific trading strategies. Security, derivative, and futures trading involves a substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Each investor must consider whether this is a suitable investment, since you may lose all or more than your initial investment. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Lightspeed Financial Services Group, LLC is not affiliated with these third-party market commentators, educators, or service providers. Data, information, and material content are provided for informational and educational purposes only. This content neither is nor should be construed as an offer, solicitation, or recommendation to buy or sell any securities or contracts. Any investment decision made by the user through the use of such content is solely based on the user's independent analysis, taking into consideration your financial circumstances, investment objectives, and risk tolerance. Lightspeed Financial Services Group, LLC does not endorse, offer, nor recommend any of these services or commentary provided by any of the market commentators, educators, or service providers, and any information used to execute any trading strategies are solely based on the independent analysis of the user. Thank you very much. So if you have further questions after today's webinar, please feel free to send an email to sales@lightspeed.com. We would be more than happy to get back to you and answer those questions. So with all that being said, I'm going to turn things over to our panelists today, Conrad. So just bear with me one moment, please.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, thanks so much for the intro. Thanks for having me. I'll just go ahead and jump in. I'm Conrad. I'm at Sterling Trading Tech, specifically the product manager here. So we'll do have a high-level overview of the Sterling Trader Pro platform. Just give you a sense of what it looks like, some of the things that it can do, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So yeah, the first thing I would say, definitely recommended after we go through it here, to sign up, open up a demo account. That's really the best way to learn and get a feel for the platform. So head to the Lightspeed website, set yourself up with a demo account. But then specifically what I wanted to start off with here is just to give you a little bit of an overview of the resources. So once you have that demo, a couple useful things here on our website. So that's sterlingtradingtech.com. If you head to the resources menu, we have a section for some videos. We have some things like roundtables, more thought leadership type content, but then also we have different tutorials and videos on some of the different tools and functionality within the platform. There's some overview videos, so that's one good resource to either get you up and running or get some more info on the tools and functionality within the platform. And the second piece also in the resources menu is the Sterling user guide. So we're looking at the Sterling Trader Pro platform, so this is also a good place for information about specific functionality, more in a user guide format, of course. So as you have questions going away from this webinar, two good resources for you to use for the platform. All right, so I'll minimize that. Okay, so what I've loaded here, what we're looking at is the Sterling Trader Pro platform. So this is locally installed either on your desktop or your laptop. The layout, the display that I have loaded here is just the general default. So any new user that downloads and installs the platform will have this particular layout and all the related settings. But I do want to mention that everything is very much customizable. So just from a high level, these windows are all free floating, so I can move them around my desktop, or if I have multiple monitors, I can spread the windows and the view across those monitors. I can also come back and sort of link these windows back into more of a concise view. So the windows themselves can be customized, placed throughout the desktop or the layout. And then I do like to mention also all of the colors, the fonts, sort of the lower level configuration and customization is all possible. So the colors and the columns and their positions, everything that I have loaded and displayed here, that can all be changed to a particular user's preference. That makes sense. Okay, so I'll start with the sort of the common windows and talk about some of the functionality within each. So I'll start here on the right-hand side, sort of in the middle. So this is our stock watch window, sort of exactly what it sounds like. It's just a watch list where I can load. In this case, I have a few sample indices and then a few sample equities names that I've loaded. And then I sort of have, let's call them the most common sort of data points or columns added. But just to give you a sense, and we won't go through all of them, but if I go into my settings menu, you'll see I think there's something like 50 or 60 different columns that can be added and rearranged within a particular watch list, depending on what the particular user wants to see relative to that symbol. And then just to give you a sense of the further customization, colors can be adjusted here. Some of the particular settings within the stopwatch window can also be adjusted. So from there, and then I can create multiple windows, multiple watch lists, not necessarily only for the watch list, but any of these windows, a user can open multiple and have those sort of spread across the layout in the desktop. Okay, the next window I'll move up to here is the chart. So this, the charting package is completely built in and sort of offered as part of the system. A lot of dev effort has been made recently building out the functionality. I think as we were talking to a lot of users, they were going out and getting third-party charting packages. So we put a lot of effort into building out a solution within the platform that I think is just as useful and robust. Just to give you a sense of the charting capabilities, so I just have Apple loaded as a sample symbol here. So we have the ability to adjust the time frame. I just had a 30-minute loaded, but I can just click and change the time frame, let's say to a 15-minute. We do have lots of different studies and indicators in the platform. So I won't go through them all. I'm by no means an expert, but again, just to kind of scroll down and give you a sense, there's quite a good number of different indicators and studies that can be added to a chart. Again, multiple charts can be opened, sort of showing or dedicated to a particular study set or particular time frame. You can have multiple Apple charts open, sort of dedicated to displaying different things. And then from there, also if I right-click, there's a few other items that I can change. The interval we looked at, the bar type, the price style you can change, and then taking it a step further, there's lots of different parameters and settings within the chart. So depending on how you want it to behave or look and feel, you can add and remove different crosshairs. I can set the chart to show my executed orders, my open orders. For open positions, I can add a P&L gradient or a P&L line just to give me a sense of where I initiated my position or where my average price is. So there's lots of different settings that can be applied or removed to keep it simple within the charts themselves. The charting also has a tabbing functionality. So across the bottom, you'll see here I have 5 different symbols tabbed. These are just symbols that I've cycled through and sort of opened and viewed throughout the day. So the chart will save that symbol, so I can come in here and easily click and change it and update the chart to reflect that previous symbol. If I don't want to see them, I can right-click, remove a single name, or I can remove them all. The next window here, I'll move to the left, is the time and sales. Fairly straightforward. We won't spend too much time on it, but this is going to show me all the trades. In this case, we're looking at Apple, all of the trades happening in the market for a particular symbol. Okay. And then the next window over, so this is the level 2 order entry. So this is going to give me, sort of starting at the top and working our way down. So we're looking at Apple here. I'll have all of this security specific information sort of sandwiching the order entry parameters. So I'll be able to see the market information for Apple, last traded price, bid offer, high, low, the change, the volume. And then this middle section here is where I'll be able to configure my order. So if I have multiple accounts, I'll be able to select an account here and then configure the order, price, quantity, time in force, and then we can buy, sell, or sell short. Choose the destination if there are multiple destinations. We sort of configure that relative to the broker, in this case Lightspeed, depending on how your account and that subsequent routing is set up. You'll have those destinations available in your production platform. And then the section below, so we do offer full market depth for each symbol. In this case, I have mine, and this is by default, color-coded based on that depth. So I'll be able to see the market and the size by market center or by destination. So obviously, bids on the left, offers on the right, and the volume or the available quantity at each price level at each market center or destination.
Pardon me, Conrad, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Are you able to enlarge the text or zoom in a little bit on your screen here? I have someone saying that it's a little difficult to see.
I wonder if let's see if there's a way to. If we do something like this. Does that look any better?
Certainly looks more clear on my end as well. So
Okay.
thank you for doing
Yeah, no problem. Let me see if I can do this for some of the windows we'll be looking at here. moving forward, give me just one moment. We'll just increase the font size here. Okay. Yeah, hopefully that looks better. But that's a good sort of segue in, again, into the customization. So I was just in the settings menu here, local to that particular level 2 window. And as we saw, I can adjust the font. I can adjust the color scheme. So right now, if I click this drop-down menu, I have this soft color scheme loaded for my level 2, but we have a handful of other sort of pre-defined color schemes. So if I wanted to change it more to this blue color scheme, I can do that. You can also customize the color schemes and set the particular color you want to see for each price level. So all of those things can be customized in the level 2, and then also most of the other windows. All right, so let me just expand this one, these two here, a little bit since we increased the font. Okay, and then one other thing I'd want to mention, not necessarily unique to the level 2, but if you look in the upper right-hand corner of some of the windows I have open here, I have this yellow highlighted bar. So this is indicates that any window with this yellow bar is linked, so that if I change a symbol in one, the other linked windows will update to display that symbol. So I type in SPY in my level 2, my time and sales and my chart will update with that new symbol. And then if I do it, let's say I'm in my watch list and I click on Google, then my chart, time and sales, and level 2 with that yellow link will also update. So this is useful, and you can have as many of these linking groups, at least limited to this the amount of colors we have here, which I think is about 30. You can have different sort of sets of linked windows. It just makes it a little more efficient to sort of get around and navigate and view different strategy, different symbols in that strategy with the linking function. All right, so the next window we'll look at here is at the bottom left-hand corner. So this is the position summary. So exactly what it sounds like. This is going to be a summary of all my open positions. So this is going to update in real time, both from a trading perspective as I make trades, buy, sell shares. My position will update in real time to reflect that new position, and then any P&L and related risk numbers will update in real time as the market is changing. And this one again, just to give you a sense, the different columns that are available, I just have sort of column standard and simple columns added relative to P&L and my position, but there's quite a few different data points available depending on what specifically you'd want to see in that position summary window. Okay. And then I can also, if I wanted to, initiate orders from here. So if I right-click on a particular position row, I have the option to cover, and then there's quite a few different options for covering all or half of the position, or I can just bring up an order ticket by clicking buy or sell. And actually, I should have mentioned this, but we do have, in addition to the level 2, which we looked at, we do have a level 1 window. Some people like to keep their display a little cleaner, and maybe the level 2 is a little busy. So we do have the level 1, which is the same exact functionality for order entry, except you don't get the depth. So you still get security information at the top level, but then the order entry functionality is exactly the same. Okay. And then the next window we'll look at is the trading monitor. Let's expand these a little bit here. So this, again, exactly what it sounds like. This is going to show all of my order and trading activity. So I just placed a few test orders earlier today. I'll be able to see them. In this case, the newest one is at the top here. I'll be able to see This window is also tabbed, so I can sort of quickly filter out. In this case, we're looking at all the orders I placed today, so I'll be able to see them and their status, quantity, and then price. And then this window, just like all of the others, has lots of different columns and data points should I want to add those. The Trading Monitor window also has tabbing functionality. So in this case, like I said, I'm looking at all orders. I can also view only the open and working orders. I can filter to view by any executions I've made today and sort of get to those orders quickly. We also have a function to view orders and trades from previous days. I don't know if it's 30 or 40 days, something like that. We'll keep that data. So some users find that useful if they want to analyze the previous day's activity. They'll have access to some historical orders and trades. Within the window itself, if I double click on a particular row, let me just bring that on screen, I'll be able to see the order history. So in this case, I placed an order for 100 shares of Apple. I was filled on 50, so I'll be able to see the life cycle of the trade or of the order by double clicking. Okay. And then the last window that I have up here right in the middle is the fundamental data window. So this will display sort of useful fundamental information about a particular symbol. So not only for today, but things like dividend, market cap, volume, things like that. So a good quick reference for that type of fundamental data is there. Okay. The next thing that I'd like to cover is sort of more from a efficiency standpoint, but a lot of users take advantage of hotkeys for trading. So the level 2, the level 1 window are very much click-based to sort of navigate and set quantity, price, symbol, destination, things like that. Whereas hotkeys enable users to set up specific keystrokes that perform a function to take the place of a click or to set some parameter. We have two different types of hotkeys available, and if you can see here in the settings menu, we have this sort of white text at the top, and then if I scroll down, there's this blue text hotkey. So the blue text are sort of hard-coded functions where a user can customize the particular keystroke for that function. So for example, a cancel all, the function itself or the action itself is hard-coded in the system, but a user can adjust the hotkey they want to use to perform that cancel all function. And then the second side is more of a customizable hotkey, so that I can set it up really to perform a custom function, either queue up an order for a particular quantity at a particular price for a particular symbol or account, and get very specific with what my hotkey does. I can give that hotkey a name, and it'll review why that is important relative to the level 2. So the user can have as many hotkeys as they want. Of course, very important to sort of get a grasp and handle on what those hotkeys do. But it's, in terms of efficiency, and if somebody's a more aggressive or faster type of trader, the hotkeys definitely are very useful. So once I've created my hotkeys, I can of course either use the keyboard shortcut and initiate that hotkey. So let's say we'll take a look at this one. Control B will buy 100 at the bid. So if let's just change the quantity. So if I Control B, it'll send an order to buy 100 Google. In this case, at the current bid price. The confirmation screen pops up. I can also, there's a setting to disable the confirmation, so that order would go right out to the market. In this case, let's say I want to place that order. Through the confirmation screen, I'll click yes, and then that order goes out. So it's much quicker than me adjusting my quantity and price. I can just use the hotkey, and that order goes out to the market. And then the other hotkey we had was a cancel all. I may have disabled that one. But the other nice thing about the hotkeys is within my level 2, I can add just find it here, a hot button bar. So if I go into my hot button bar setup, I just added a couple sort of sample buttons here. One of them was that buy 100 at the bid. And what I can also do is color code it. So let's say I want this one to be blue, and then I have another one here to sell a particular position. So that would be whichever symbol I have active in the level 2 to sell that position at the market. Let's say I want that one to be red. Now, I could either use the hotkeys or add those buttons to the level 2 so that I can quickly click and then perform whatever that action is. In this case, buy 100 shares of Google at the bid. And then one more thing, going back to my settings menu. So this window in the lower right-hand corner is sort of the main window where all the others are launched. So I'm just going into the general platform settings menu here. And then at the bottom of the list here, this messages menu is something that I like to cover. Like we saw earlier with the hotkey, I get a confirmation message before that order actually goes out. I can also disable that, or I can enable messages when I cancel order, cancel multiple orders, so I can either enable or disable a particular message types depending on how sort of efficient I want to be or safe I want to be. And then also along those lines, this is sort of the first level of, we'll call it a fat finger kind of check. And what I can do, so this top section is for non-options. So for equities, I can enable a check so that if my order price is through the market, so some threshold above the offer or below the bid, I'll get a sort of a soft warning message asking me if I'm sure I want to place this order. And I can also set that check up relative to the last. So that's just a way to make sure, just in case my price is well through the market, just ensuring that in fact I do want to place that order. And then we have a similar sort of soft warning message available for options as well. And then again, I won't go through them all. As you see, there's quite a few different menus in the settings section here. Just speaking to the level of flexibility and customization. So each user that we have can build out the not only the workspace, but the behavior of the platform and of each unique window, sort of to speak to their unique trading style. And then the last thing we'll look at here is related to layouts. So we had, I had one layout when we started. We've made some changes here. Let's say I like this layout. I can come in here to the actions menu and then save layout as. Save it as a unique layout file name. I can have again as many of these layouts saved just locally to my desktop. And then if I want, I can load a specific layout throughout the trading day or at a later date. So if I've customized something that I like, I can come back, save it, load it, depending on what it is specifically that I want to see. Okay, so that covers all the high level, sort of the main windows within the platform here.
So we'll open it up for some questions.
Sure.
Got a couple minutes, Conrad, if you mind sticking around.
Yeah,
if anybody's got any questions about the any features or the capabilities of the platform, please feel free to fire that over to the chat, and Conrad will address that for you before we wrap things up here. Just give everybody a couple minutes,
Yeah,
a minute
no
or two
problem.
to come up with some questions. If you had any, please feel free to send those over before we wrap things up here. Yes, Conrad. Somebody would like to know if you could have more than one chart displayed on the platform.
Yes, you can have as many as you want. I don't think we don't have a limit. It would just be limited to your whatever video card. But I can have as many charts open as I want, sort of placed wherever I want it throughout the platform. I can link the charts together. So let's do this. So I have these two charts linked. I have 15-minute and a 1-minute. Sort of place these next to each other so that when I update a symbol, both charts will update. But I'm looking at different parameters within that chart or within the two charts.
Okay, next question is somebody would like to know, how do you make the boxes bigger in level 2 order entry?
These boxes near the top, the window itself can be expanded. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but the boxes themselves, I don't know. I'll have to double check if those can actually be increased. And it might look smaller across the screen share. So that might be contributing, to me looking at it directly, it looks fine. But I would, in that case, suggest going into the demo and sort of playing around with the settings and finding what works for you. Beyond that, I don't know that these boxes can be increased in size any, but the font, like we saw on the window itself, can be resized.
I do think you're running the resolution on your machine a little high, so that
Yeah,
that's all right. No big deal. So also, would you mind going over showing open that second chart one more time, please? That individual just I think he was a little quickly there. So if you could just do that one more time, please.
To show what? I'm sorry.
Opening up another chart window.
Oh, sure. So I just went into in the lower right-hand corner, into this sort of main window, into the Windows menu, and then I just went into quotes and then chart. The other way, we also have these icons here across the top. I can click on this chart icon. Let me just bring it on screen here. There we go. Okay. And so that opens up a brand new chart, and then from here, I can just type in a symbol and change it manually, or like I did with the others, I can link it, let's say, to this yellow color. So now when I update a symbol in that linked group, they all update, and each chart can be set to a different time frame of some particular study or indicator. So they all, in this case, show the same symbol, but different parameters, or they don't have to show the same symbol. They can each be independent.
Awesome, thank you. So someone would like to know, does the API support Python?
That is a good question. I'm not sure. Yeah, we'd have to get back on that one.
Okay, we can certainly follow up on that.
And
Also, that I believe that the API info it should be available on the Sterling website, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, just now I'm curious. So if we go into the API section here, I'll just check quickly here. Maybe. Now that doesn't want to load. Yeah, we'd have to check in and get back to them. But the website typically, of course, when I try it just now, it doesn't want to display. But yes, the website does contain some more detailed information about the API.
All right. So I've got two questions about options. One of them is do you have trailing stops with options? And if you do, would you be able to walk through setting that up?
Yeah, let me double check. I don't know if we have a trailing stop, but we can look at some of the options functionality at least. So I just went back into my Windows menu and pulled up the option chain. Just load SPY as an example here. So this again, I just have a few sort of basic columns added, but especially with options, there's quite a few that can be added that users find useful. So I'll just double click on the ask in this case for some call here. That'll bring up the level 2. Yeah, I don't think we do have that order type. Just want to make sure. I think it's just pretty like standard limit orders.
And then sort of a follow-up to that also is
Sure.
if you offer stop limits on options as well, and how somebody could go about using one of those.
Yeah, the stop limit I don't see either. And it might be a limitation of my demo system. In production, different brokers or different destinations will offer different order types. So depending on what maybe Lightspeed would offer as an order type for options, maybe that would be available in production. And that's a bit of speculation because I have seen that before. My demo system, what I have available in my order entry functions is not necessarily accurate relative to somebody's production version. So that's something also we have to take away and double check.
Sure. Yeah. So I would encourage those individuals then who had those questions to either contact Sterling support and send them an email, or send an email to contact us at lightspeed.com, or sales at lightspeed.com, and we'd be more than happy to get back to you on that. So, Conrad, it looks like that's all the questions for today. So, thank you very much for taking the time and joining us this afternoon. We really do appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you also for joining us this afternoon. We do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us, and hopefully you were able to come away from this having learned something new. Conrad, was there anything else that you wanted to cover before we wrap things up here? Maybe something on the website, or are you good?
Yeah, we covered it. I don't want to sort of overload everyone. I would say, yeah, get the demo. That's really the best way. Watch the videos, look at the user guides. That's really the best way to get a feel for the platform. But yeah, other than that, thanks Chris, and thanks everyone for joining and listening and watching.
Thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you again, Conrad. I'm going to end the webinar now. So take care and have a great evening.
All right, thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.